Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Al,
And my name is Dalan.
and we're here today to talk about cottagecore games. Woo! I honestly thought it was Dalan, not Dalan.
It that I do get that a lot. It is Dalan. It's mostly the way it's spelled, I think, that confuses people. It's
Clearly.
more common to have double L-I instead of the two A's. So that's the main reason.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that spelling
I've met
either.
one person who spelled it the same as me, and that was in Utah, where there are about 50 people named Dalan per square inch. It's not quite that populous, but
Right. Okay. So
yeah.
I see the issue. I see why it's not a name that I am very much aware of. If it's within
Yes.
a particular community,
There
very
is a
prevalent within a
particular
certain area
culture.
of the United States.
Yeah. So I'm always surprised finding people outside that place who have the same name, and I'm like, come
Yeah.
on,
They do exist outside of
they
outside
do
of there.
exist. It is the name other people have.
It's funny because sometimes I only realize how people's names are pronounced when they come on the podcast. Because it was the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
same with Nami, who of
yeah.
course I
Name, I
that's
had
not
that
how I pronounced
problem
his
for a
name for a
while.
long time.
Yeah, I have to remind myself sometimes. Sorry, Name.
regularly,
Yeah,
regularly. Anyway, welcome, Dalan, to
thank
the
you.
podcast again. This is your second episode.
Second time only took like a little bit over a year. I think I was
Oh,
here
is that what
2023 August-ish or September.
it was the
I want to
fishing
say
month, wasn't it?
it was fishing month. Yep, yep. Because I was the only other person who owned a play date that you knew.
Oh, that's yeah, we did the play
Yeah.
date one. That's what it was. That
Yeah, I have
was that
not
was
touched
good.
that in a long time.
We should see if there are any more play date games to play.
That would be fun. Yeah, figure out one where I put it and then to charge it up.
Yeah, I
I
need to
brought it.
charge mine up.
I
Thankfully,
think
mine
I
is
brought it
here.
with
I have it
me
in my
to.
hand because it just sits on my
Oh,
desk. I know where it
that's
is, but
nice.
it's not charged because I don't have the
Hmm.
dock that they're
The
never going
doc
to release
still
anymore.
probably not. No, I uh I think I took it with me to the Japan trip I went on this summer,
Hmm.
or I can't remember if I did and then never used it, or if I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to use that and left it home. One of the two. Either way, I did not play it.
Fair
Uh,
enough. Anyway, so Dallin is here to talk to me
Ooh.
about a game that I have definitely not played,
Yes,
and a name that I'm definitely going to mix up the order of the words in the
that's
name
okay.
because it is definitely the wrong order. But this game is called Honkai Impact Third.
That is correct.
Right. It's not Third Impact, it's Impact
No,
Third. Is it the
because
third Impact game?
well, no. It is the third Honkai game, maybe. Uh,
Maybe. Interesting.
kind of. We'll get. Well, I'll go
Yeah,
into that a little bit
we'll
about
talk about that
how
when we talk
crazy
about
that
it.
all is. But yeah, we'll get to that later.
For some reason, we're going to talk about a Honkai game. Uh,
I'm as
we'll,
confused as you are, listeners. But
you suggested
slow.
it, not
I
me.
did. I did. I didn't think you would take me up on it, but there is enough to talk about. So
Look,
I
oh,
and and I will be trying to focus mostly just on the farming stuff because there are many things I could blab about, and I need you to hold me back. Uh,
I mean, look,
I'll,
I'll be honest. If someone comes to me and says, how about a podcast episode on this," and it even tangentially connects to the podcast, I will say yes, because as I've said before, the hardest part of this podcast is not the editing, it's not the podcasting, it's not the news, it is not the actual recording, it is figuring out which episode is going to be which.
I'll take a note of it. I have a couple games like that I've played recently that I think could fit into that. So I'll see if those will come up in future episodes. So do we want to
Twenty,
talk what we've been up to lately then, or?
yeah, let's do it. What have you been up to?
Yeah. So I am trying to enjoy the last pieces of my holidays before go back to the college grind. To have some other stuff I've been working on this week. So most of the games I'm writing are kind of like last week, but I've played a little bit this week. I have obviously been playing Honkai games because those are relevant to what we're talking about. I also started Potion Craft recently because during the holidays we remembered the family Steam sharing thing got updated, and I guess one of my siblings bought it at some point, so I've been playing that. Are you familiar with Potion Craft at all?
uh, I I think I've heard of it. I don't know if
Right.
I don't know if I've actually played it.
Yeah, I find it a pretty relaxing game. I've there were a couple nights where I was just kind of playing it an hour each night before bed. I could see myself kind of continuing that. It's basically a game where you make potions. But the way you do that is interesting, where like you basically have this map that you're moving around your little potion on, and you're putting in different ingredients that have set patterns, and so you're trying to put in the right ingredients to get to the location on the map you want to, in order to get the potion. And so it's mostly that gameplay, and then balancing that with how do I get more materials to make my potions, and then selling them to customers and stuff. So pretty relaxed. I think I made it to like day 8 or something. There's a progress system, but it's basically just like, have you made these kinds of potions? Did you discover being able to do this thing? So it's pretty open, I'd say.
I like the look of the graphics. It's
It's
very
very
distinct.
Yes, it's got a nice feel to it. And I think they did just have an update, like which I was surprised by. I think this past December, like last month. I'm not certain. That seemed like it was what it said on the store page when I
Right.
looked it up.
But yeah, it's almost like it's on like old parchment paper. It's like kind of
Yeah,
sepia based. Just I really like the look of. The farming
yeah.
looks like it could be fun.
There is a bit of
Uh
farming, yes.
it's very, it looks very simple. It's basically just it's more
Yes.
gardening, I guess, rather than farming, right?
Yeah,
You're
it's
planting.
basically like you get your materials for the day, and
Yeah.
then you water them every day, etc. You can plant new things, and I think they added more like functionality to kind of expand it, but I am not at that point in the game yet. So
But what I will say is the actual potion making looks like I would absolutely hate it.
I see. How so? Just finicky?
I do not like the kind of very specific motions and having to do
Mm,
that. Like I think that sort of stuff is fun in some in one very specific circumstance, and that's in party games.
yeah.
So I will play Mario Party and WarioWare anytime
Right.
somebody suggests them to do these little weird motions and stuff. I know it's not like motion control. I know you're
Right,
using the
right.
mouse, but like I don't want to have to pick up a pestle and mortar it, and I don't want to have to like stir a cauldron and pour. I no, it's
All right.
too detailed and specific for me. I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I will say like the fact that you're able to add water to kind of mess with that is the core gameplay. So if it doesn't interest you, probably none of the quality of life things they're adding to it are gonna change that for you.
Yeah,
But there are some nice things where it's like once you have a potion that you like if you made really strong version of a potion and you're like that was annoying to do, but I want to have that a lot, you can save it and it will just automatically make it with the ingredients for you. So it's more about like kind of exploring the map and discovering new things and then being like, oh, is there like a more optimized route I can take to this to, cut back on ingredients or something. So, but yes, there's some finickiness to it. So if you don't enjoy that, you probably, yeah, I don't think any of the changes are really going to fix that for you.
yeah. It's like when every time I hear about a new Souls like game, I'm like,
Mm,
sounds great. I'm still not going to like it because I do
right,
not like the fundamental part of the game, and so I'm not going to try it. Um,
right.
Except one, there is one that has interested me, and that's another Crab's Treasure. That's I think the only
True.
Souls like that has ever actually interested me.
Yeah, I think that one, I mean, just by visuals, it seems more friendly. And then also, I think like, um, the problem I tend to have with Souls likes is that like I want to do a build that works, but it and for my playstyle, but it feels like a battle to figure out what I enjoy while also trying not to waste all my materials on making something I won't like
Yeah,
to play. So a little stressful.
it has a lot more options as well in terms of like difficulty and stuff, which I quite
Mm,
like. Not
that's
that I'm
nice.
going to use them necessarily. Like I'm not going to use because it's. I love how it kind of tied them in the same way where it's got like the easy mode is basically just you have a gun that sits on your head that
You're
kills
right.
anybody that's about to. Like I love how ridiculous that is. I'm not going to
That's
use that,
good.
but having that leads me to liking it more purely because it allows for more flexibility around
Right.
those options. Because there's just been thought gone into that,
Mm.
which then leads to a game that I'm more likely to like. So it's not. I don't know if that's obvious enough how I'm explaining it, but yeah, but
I think
I
it makes
think that
sense.
the idea of actually having difficulty options generally leads to a game being designed more
Mm,
like I would enjoy it.
that makes sense. It's having like more flexible design or ways to interact with it versus feeling like there's sort of one path you have to take. Or maybe that's not the right way to put it, but
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
kind of get what you're saying.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But like if we just took a Souls, standard Souls game, like Elden Ring, right? So we take Elden
Hmm.
Ring. If you just put a difficulty level in that I don't think I would enjoy that game because it's
Right.
still the same game. It's just
Yeah.
easier,
Yeah,
right? Like it's not.
100%.
I,
It's
I
it's
don't
not built
dis
around that.
I don't dislike those games because they're hard, right? Like I
Mm.
dislike those games because of their whole philosophy.
Right,
Um,
100%.
and it just feels like another Crab's Treasure does that differently.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Anyway, Potion Craft.
Yep, that's Potion Craft. That I could see that being an episode topic at some point. But anyway,
Yeah, maybe.
I started Warframe recently. Well, that's maybe started is maybe the wrong word. So this game, are you familiar with this game at all?
I am not.
Okay, Warframe. It's kind of like, are you familiar with Destiny?
I am aware of it and I have seen some gameplay of it, yes.
Okay, we'll do the most basic version. This Warframe is Space Ninjas. Is That's pretty much the game. You go around space, you fight things with friends, and you get materials to upgrade your things. And it is a completely free to play game. All the money you spend is for cosmetics and like speeding up timers, which are basically just crafting things. So it has been going for a long time, so much so that the first time I played it was actually in 2013. Um,
Yeah, this game,
and
this it says it was released in March 2013. It was released
yes,
2 days after my first child was born.
yeah, yeah, and I was solidly still a child at this point. The the reason I didn't stick around with it is one, it was a bit overwhelming, and I don't know if my computer could handle it at the time. And two, I believe maybe a week prior, I had told my mother that I was not interested in playing an M-rated game ever, and she hugged me. And then this game was M-rated, and I immediately felt strong feelings of guilt for being like, "This is kind of fun."
Yeah, well,
So I
I tell
didn't
my
want to
mom
try
I
that.
don't swear, so uh
Yeah, we all did. Whereas that's all water under the bridge now, not a problem. I'm playing it on the television and currently living with family and
there are
those
other
things have
things
been
you do to
raised.
disappoint them instead now.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, very true. Like
that's the thing.
living
If you're
in their
worried about how
basement.
someone thinks about a certain thing that you do, just do something worse. That's how it works, right?
True. Yeah, I think that is the best method. Anyway, but yeah, I started playing that because we had my sister and her husband came over for the holidays, and uh, her husband's been playing it a lot longer, but my sister was like, I want to download this to see if we can play it because I can't play it on my laptop. And she kind of gave up on that pretty quick because she didn't like the controller inputs. But I was like, oh, this game's kind of fun. So I might be playing with that with them in the future, which would be fun because I don't get to hang out with them as much anymore on account of them living in a different place. So yeah, Warframe, not a huge amount to say on that, but that's interesting game. And then there are lots of other games I could talk about, but I'll just quickly mention 1000. I think it's X Resist. I don't know if it's times or what. I don't know what it means yet, but that is a game I should be playing more of. It's just draining because it's a very involved sci-fi story that I want to soak in.
Fair
Have
enough.
you heard of it also? Let me
No,
pulling out all the
I have
strange
not
games.
even I've I've not even heard of this game. No.
Yeah, so this was like a game that was
Oh,
popular in a couple circles.
this is one of the ones that was added to Balatro recently.
Yes, yes, it was there. I do remember that. Yeah. So this is sort of a far future sci-fi story. It's some people might kind of put it in the realm of a walking sim, I guess, but
Mm,
it's interesting. It's a lot of going around talking to characters, and it has some interesting kind of time manipulation mechanics where you're flipping back and forth between different scenes sometimes to find different information or go places. So there's a little bit of that, but the gameplay mechanics mostly serve as a catalyst for the story and like what's going on. The basic premise I'll say is that uh, it seems to be a far off future where everyone is now like clones of this one person who could survive this deadly illness, and you're playing as this person called the Watcher because everyone is named by their roles, and you're kind of figuring out what happened in the past, and it seems like that's going to lead to some sort of rebellion thing going on. So it's
Mm.
really interesting. It's tackles a lot of different themes. There's like it's kind of about Asian diaspora and Hong Kong protests, which is not what I would expect
Oh,
going into this game, but it's also about a lot of other
heavy.
things. So covers a large range of topics.
Fair
Would
enough.
recommend. It was a big narrative game last year that people liked, but didn't really get nominated for anything.
I I don't think I've ever actually played a walking sim.
Mm.
And so I can't say that I don't like walking sims. But what I will say is I think walking sims are everything about games that I don't like, and
I
therefore I
see.
would assume that I would not like them. Uh,
This to me, this is more like reading a sci-fi novel with
yeah, yeah,
real visuals and experiences.
yeah, exactly. And it's like the kind of one of the people would argue it's not a walking sim, but I think some people would argue it is a walking sim. Uh, what's it called? Why have I forgotten the name of it? Big Sony game. They made a TV series of it.
Oh, The Last of Us?
The Last of Us. Yeah, I know it has some combat and gameplay to it. However, feels very narrative heavy, and I guess the kind of famous walking sim is more is the Overwatch, not Overwatch,
Firewatch.
Firewatch. There we go. Names are too similar. There's too many
It's true.
words,
There
too
are
many
many
name,
similar
too.
names.
There are more words for your games. Use other words. Firewatch is kind of
Hmm.
the big one. And these sort of games, it's like I'm not against story in game, but I guess I I don't like being in control of story because it takes two times longer than if they were just telling me the story.
Mm,
So, like, I love watching TV and film, but if I were to have to press A constantly to get the next bit of the film or TV series, I would not do it.
right.
Um, and
Yeah, and I think it very much depends on the game. Like there are some where I would say that is kind of more of a just feeling kind of bored, and I almost feel like I'm doing a disservice by calling it a walking sim because there's so much like I don't know. It like I said, it feels like it kind of feels like walking around inside of a TV scene for me, where I feel like I'm experiencing like the setting and trying to figure out what's going on. I don't know, but on the other hand, I'm someone who like tends to not watch as many TV or films because like I don't like. Well, I'll have to dig into that aspect of my psyche later, but I think some of the control I enjoy being able to take it at my own pace and see what's going on.
interesting. Well,
But
anyway,
yeah, that's a wrap for me. Let's hear about your week, so it's not just me talking the whole episode.
I have finally started playing Rusty's Retirement. So
I see.
for people who aren't aware, the reason I wasn't playing Rusty's Retirement before was because I I work for a client, and so I use their machine, and I can't just install things on that machine. So I obviously do not have Rusty's Retirement installed on my work machine. But what I realized I can do is I have it on my Steam Deck now. Granted,
Mm.
it is not great on the Steam Deck because it is not full screen. You can't like change where it is. You've just got your little thing. But I have it running on my Steam Deck on I've got the Steam Deck dock
Mm.
sitting on my desk. And so I just have my Steam Deck sitting open, charging, playing Rusty's Retirement on it during the day. I've not done this very long. I think this is only my second day of doing it, but I thought this was an interesting way of trying to play with the game and see how it fares like that. I think it could do really well like that. But there would have to be a few changes for it to work optimally. Obviously,
Mm.
being in full screen and the um, it doesn't have any gamepad support.
Right.
So it would have to have those to be really good. But I mean, the touchscreen makes it a lot better to work with than just using the analog sticks or
Right.
the touchpads. And because of what its gameplay is, obviously you're not actually interacting with it very much. So the
Mm.
interaction not being ideal doesn't make it dreadful.
Right. That makes sense.
So that's one. The other thing that I have been absolutely obsessed with over the last week is Pokemon Legends Arceus, just
Oh,
3 years after release. I did play it when it first came out, but some keen listeners will remember that nearly 2 years ago, I had a terrible, terrible situation where my main Switch died and I lost
oh
all of my
yeah.
Pokemon saves except one. Um, and this was the only set of Pokemon games on the Switch that I didn't have a save for. Now I've been like slowly building them up, so I don't have all of them sorted. I just have like one from each generation, one from each set of games now. And so I was like, well, it's time. I'd never played it a second time. I play most Pokemon games two times because I'll buy both games and I'll play one like just reasonably quickly.
Right.
And then I'll play one as generally a Professor Oak challenge, but sometimes something else. So I'd never done a second playthrough of Legends Arceus. And so I was like, well, it's time to do that, I guess.
Give it
And
a shot.
let's do a Professor Oak challenge. And it was quite a fun Professor Oak challenge. I like how they're all very different nowadays because you've got like um Let's Go and Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, which are kind
Right.
of how they're more like how Professor Oak challenges would have been in the older games, kind of standard progression with gyms and catching and stuff like that.
Right.
But Let's Go had the catch combo, which meant you could get XP really quickly, and kind of sped up the first one.
Right.
Uh, then you obviously have Sword and Shield, which is the only series of Switch games that I've not done a Professor Oak challenge in now, which I'll probably do at some point. Which
Yeah, I
I
was
think
gonna
has
say, like, how does it seems like that gets a little trickier with the more open world
so
ones. Obviously, Sword and Shield isn't quite there yet, but it's got the wild area.
yeah. So obviously, then you've got Scarlet and Violet. I love how ridiculous it is. I think I can't remember exactly how many it is. I don't know whether it's quite 300, but it's over 200 Pokemon you catch
My
before you do the
goodness.
first thing. Um, and yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but I also kind of love it because
There's a charm
there's
there.
it's very front loaded. So you do that and then you just absolutely whiz through the story after that, which is like I have my level 50 Pokemon killing the first gym sort of
Yeah.
thing, and it's like wild. But I
Like,
also
welcome
like
to your journey, and
yeah, but I yeah, well, exactly.
don't know what's
Um,
coming.
but I also like how there are so many Pokemon you can just catch in the wild now.
Mhm.
And that's the same for Legends Arceus. There's so many Pokemon that you don't have to evolve. You can just catch all of them in the wild.
Wow.
I really like that part of it.
That's
Um,
fun.
so yeah, so I guess Legends Arceus was kind of a kind of between the two. So I think you have like 60 or so in the first region, and then it gets
Right.
smaller and smaller as you go. But
Mhm.
it felt pretty well balanced in terms of how many Pokemon you have to get for the first three areas at least, and then the last two were quite quick. But yeah, well, the last area would have been quick if it weren't for Spiritomb. Um,
True.
oh my
Yeah.
word, I love Legends Arceus, and I love it even more now that I've done a second playthrough. I love so much about it. Um,
But
but Spiritomb, I did not enjoy.
yeah,
It's
no,
like
that's
107 wisps
understandable.
across this huge game. Was not
It's kind
fun.
of a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it is.
never finished Legends Arceus, but I did enjoy playing that game a lot, and I do think that is a game that could lend itself pretty well to that kind of Professor Oak challenge because it kind of
Mhm.
does let you do the areas as you want to. Like obviously, it's like okay, now you can go to the next area, and that's kind of encouraged, but you can also just stick around and keep doing stuff in that one spot. So
Mhm. Mhm.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I just played the story until it said, "Right now, go do the Lord to at the
Yeah.
end of this area," and I'm like, I'm gonna catch all the Pokemon first, and it
Yep.
didn't feel forced. It felt like I was just kind of cleaning up as I went. Whereas
Yeah.
quite a lot of Professor Oak challenges, they feel like you're like, no, I am going to stay in this area and I'm going
Yeah.
to battle this specific Pokemon, which gives the most XP before the
Right.
first gym to evolve my level 36 starter. And it's like,
It's a fight
it,
against the game.
exactly. Whereas the way this game works is much more like, no, I'm actually playing it how they wanted me to play it. Now, they didn't
Yeah.
expect that I would necessarily catch absolutely everything before the next area, but there's absolutely no forcing there. It definitely feels designed like that.
Yeah, honestly, I think I should have played the game more like that because I kind of wanted to keep the story going, but I was torn between wanting to like see how things were progressing and also
Mm.
being like, well, I kind of just want to explore around here some more because
Yeah,
it's sort of fun. It's satisfying to move around and to throw the Pokeballs and stuff. I
yeah.
haven't really touched Scarlet and Violet. I think I might have briefly tried playing it in Japanese as practice, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm still terrible at Japanese, so I gave up on that. uh, but I would like to return to it at some point, and Arceus as well. I think that would be a really fun time because I did enjoy that game quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. I decided that it was time to do it because with the new game coming out,
Mm,
I either I'm not going to be able to go back to Legends Arceus because the new game is just that but better,
right.
or I it's not going to be good and I'll be disappointed. But then I will have played a good game this year. So
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
one or the other.
Silver
I want
lining.
to have played it now, you know,
Yeah. 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 That makes
because
sense.
there are some games that I really struggle to go back and play, like
Mm,
Breath of the Wild. I can't play anymore after Tears
right.
of the Kingdom because of what Tears of the Kingdom added. Um, so yeah, I think if it was, which I really hope, I mean, we obviously have no indication of this yet. Hopefully, we'll know more in a month and a half. But
Yes.
I really hope that Legends ZA is basically the same catching and traversal style as Arceus, but more of that
That would be
and
nice.
more fun and more to do and more story and some quality of life improvements. And what I would really
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
is them to add the Let's Go feature from Scarlet and Violet into it as well, because I think having those two ways of being able to run around and catch everything in balls or send out your Pokemon to go and kill everything nearby,
Mm.
I think those are both fun and could work really well together.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting sort of combo of those ideas. Man, I need to play Scarlet and Violet.
Scarlet and Violet is a really mixed game, and
Yeah.
it's like I at one point I said if it ran better, it would probably be my favorite Pokemon game, but actually I don't think that anymore. I think
Mm.
no matter what, I think Legends Arceus is my favorite Pokemon game. Um,
Yeah, I would say
it's
that
just
Legends Arceus was definitely like the one I had been most charmed by in quite some time, probably since like first Pokemon game, like Black and
yeah,
White. Not that I didn't enjoy the others per se, but it was like, oh, this is new and interesting.
yeah, yeah. All right. So yeah, well, I finished the Professor Oak challenge. I'm just catching the
Oh, nice.
last few post game Pokemon now.
Right,
So
right.
I think I've got the. I think before this recording, I just caught the Lake Spirits. So I think all I've got
Cool.
left are Giratina, the weather, the weather genies,
Mm,
and then
right. Those
Arceus
guys.
and the two uh, mythicals.
Mm,
So
cool.
that
I
shouldn't
look
take me
forward
too
to hearing
long.
about that. Also curious about more thoughts on Rusty's retirement as you play that more, because I know we
Yes.
both talked about how we weren't sure if that was a game that really worked for us.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I will hopefully have more to talk about Rusty's
All right.
retirement in the near future.
Sweet.
All right, let's talk about some news. Obviously, we
News.
had our big news catch up last week, and this is, as Dalan was saying before the recording, the quiet time of the year, which is very
Yes.
true. I think this is a very quiet time for games for two reasons.
Mm,
One, well, three reasons. One, it's January. Not a lot
yeah.
happens in January in games. Two, the Switch 2 is about to be announced,
Right.
right? Like that is imminent. And you know that everybody's waiting for that. Some will be waiting because they have dev kits and they can't announce anything yet. And some will be waiting to just see what it is and see if they can
Yeah.
run their Switch games on it before they talk about it. And three, everybody's terrified of GTA.
Yeah. No, that's a big game coming.
So there's basically no games announced coming this year outside of the first 3 months,
Mm,
like
yeah.
for anybody at all.
It's
So
a weird time right now in many ways.
yeah, yeah. Yep. But we do have some news. So first of all, My Little Life, which is what I like to call a rusty retirement like. It
Mm,
is another game played on the bottom part of your screen, and this is a life sim rather than a farming sim. So you have your different rooms in your house and. I presume office. I've not actually investigated
mm.
whether you have more than just the one building, but you
Oh my gosh, this I'm looking at the announcement. I just have it muted right now, but in the release date announcement, they have Rusty's retirement pulled up over top of the My
Oh,
Little
do
Life
they?
screen. Yeah, let's
Amazing.
about 46 seconds in.
Oh, so they do.
You can do it while answering work emails or even playing other games, and then Rusty's retirement pops up. So that's pretty funny. It's just like, yeah, I know this is sort of a copy.
I just read the transcripts of what they're talking about what you can do while playing it, and one of them is or playing other games.
Yeah, yeah,
So they're showing you playing My Little Life and Rusty's Retirement at the same
two
time,
for
which
one.
I would say probably don't do that.
I think that's overload. I think that would break my brain. Too much
um,
things I can look at.
anyway, this game have announced, as Dalan just said, their release date. So this is coming out on the 31st of January. So in 2 and a bit weeks.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yep. So if you like Rusty's Retirement and you want another one like it, or you like the idea of Rusty's Retirement, but you didn't want a farming game, why are you listening to this podcast? Then that comes out very soon.
Yeah, very interesting. Also
Next
like
we
the Windows XP background in the trailer.
yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
Vista? I don't know. I'm too young for this.
Next we have the Sunhaven have released their next update for the Switch version. I mean,
Mm,
it's all just bug fixes basically.
yeah.
Except one thing which says added a save button in the settings menu. Could you not save the game before? I don't.
No idea. That seems good to have.
Yeah. So if you're playing Sunhaven on the Switch, you now have fewer bugs, hopefully.
And more save buttons,
And
and
more.
hopefully you already had more than zero.
I'm guessing it's that it does the Stardew thing of saving overnight.
Right.
But they
Probably.
also have a save on demand thing.
Right. That would make sense.
Next, we have Echoes of the Plum Grove have released their New Year update. This is mostly kind of bug fixes, but there's a few
Mm.
features as well. You can add rugs and put things on those rugs.
I was a little worried. I misread the thing. It says put furniture over rugs and costumes for kids, and I combined them as put furniture and rugs over kids, and I was like, oh, well, okay. I know this is the sort of wacky game or the like, not wacky, but macabre game. Is that how you
Yeah,
say that? Macabre.
macabre,
Is the R
macabre,
pronounced? This
macabre.
macabre is important when you
This will
say
probably be a cultural thing, right? Like
macabre. It's macabre. He got out again.
macabre,
That
death,
seems
about death. Um,
cool. Thanks. I knew that part. I was just wondering how to say you.
no, I
That
know I'm just
word.
simplifying it.
It's got some depth in it. So I was like, wow,
And also new Halloween outfits. I think they're a little bit late for Halloween outfits.
cool. Oh, some amazing fixes. Winter Gala should still be available even if the quest giver dies the night before. Good. Uh, there's some spoiler ones I'm not looking at, but that's the only fun one, so you don't need to look at for any more fixes. But man, this game does intrigue me, I gotta say.
Yeah. Not many games have to worry about their NPCs dying, right?
Yeah, that's usually a Bethesda kind of thing.
Um, and our final piece of news, because I told you it was short, right? We had about half an hour of what we've been up to, and now we've got 5 minutes of
I don't
news.
even think I saw this one.
This is that's because I added it in like 2 hours ago or something.
I see.
Roots of Pacha have detailed their upcoming new regions to the games. So if you're interested
Oh.
in Roots of Pacha, there's some more details on that. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
hugely detailed, but they're just kind of talking about the new regions, which feel like the next update is going to be pretty big.
There's some fun screenshots. Well, not screenshots. They're slightly animated.
Yes, there are. I still haven't played this game, and I still want to at some point.
It does. It looks nice. I could see myself enjoying it. I will keep an eye out.
Well, that's the news. Woo! So, Dalan, you're going
All
to talk
right.
to me about Honkai Impact Third, and
All
I
right.
have not played this game, so I have no idea how to start this other than Why are we talking about this game?
Okay, yes, let's start with why this is getting mentioned because Honkai Impact Third is not a farming game, and
Shall
unless
I
you
see
count
what
farming for materials.
shall I see what
Uh,
you said to me
oh, I
about
sure
the
I have
game?
no idea what I sent to
Let
you.
me read what Dalan said
Oh boy,
uh when they first suggested playing this game.
I'm half expecting like there to be an emoji with me like doing the fingers pointing at each other.
Oh, where did you say it to me?
I don't know. I think it just happened. It was probably a thread in the like the not the Harvest Slack, but the other Slack. I don't even think it was like a DM or
It
anything. I was
wasn't a
like,
DM, no.
no, it was just like we could do this. So I don't think that's even anywhere now. We have no idea how this transpired. It just occurred.
I'm so
Uh,
confused. We seem to have talked about it in multiple different channels,
yeah, I think
but I
it
can't
came up
actually
in
find
video
where you said
games
it about it.
because I mentioned that I was doing like a farming event in this game, and you said there's farming in this game. I was like, yeah,
Maybe.
right now.
Okay, so you said to me back at the end of November,
Oh my goodness.
the new Honkai Impact third update has a side mode that is bilateral plus Marvel Snap. The
Oh
previous
yes,
two
I did mention
side
that.
modes were a farming sim and then Candy Crush battles. And I
Yes,
said, a what now?
yes. That one just wrapped up the Balatro snap.
So yeah, you
So
said I thought I posted about it, but I guess not. It was a farming sim that was about getting not Pokemon who would run various buildings in your town, farm crops, mine for materials, etc. They also had fishing. Got to have a fishing mini game. If you ever
that is
need a filler
correct.
episode, I could definitely talk for at least 20 minutes about it. So set that timer now.
All right, set the timer. See how long we get to. Cool. Uh, yeah, I mean, good job past me. That's a pretty good summary. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to briefly just explain the concept of what the heck Honkai Impact Third is. It's a gotcha game first and foremost. So if you're not familiar with gotcha games, it's gambling, but legal. Uh, they have usually have these things called banners where there are usually anime girls that you spend points on, and then you have a chance to get that character. It's usually guaranteed after however many times you pull for that character, is the terminology. And yeah, that is the bulk of how they make their money is by having you pay money to get their new characters. So one of the ways they do this is by having these characters show up in side modes and stories and stuff. Usually they're in the main story, but sometimes they also have sort of filler side content. And they tend to Hoyoverse is the company that does this, formerly MiHoYo, and or I think that's like I don't remember all the branding nonsense, but I go by Hoyoverse. And
It looks like
yeah,
MiHoYo is still the name of a company.
yeah, it's like international kind of stuff. It was Hoyoverse was kind of a rebranding thing. I
But
that I tend to stick to just
the,
because most of their games are connected in some sort of multiverse way.
so
Uh,
the publisher is called Hoyoverse.
mm, and the developers MiHoYo.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
But they,
Did
I
not know that.
believe, they are separate companies, but it looks like Hoyoverse was spun out from MiHoYo.
Yeah, they're essentially the same thing. I imagine they just handle like different parts of the process.
Yes, but they are separate companies. They're not. I don't,
Yes.
as far as I can see, not kind of
All right. I figured it was a thing where like one was owning the other somewhere,
possibly, but I'm
but
not.
I don't
I
know.
can't see any information on
I
their
do
the
not have the
ownership of
Wikipedia open right now, and
Hoyoverse. But
it's not
also
that helpful.
Hoyoverse is also called Cognosphere.
Cognosphere. I'm not familiar with that one.
That's just
Cognosphere.
another name for the same company.
Interesting. Hmm.
I don't know why they have two names.
Uh, I assume it has something. I've first results from three. The second result from 3 years ago on Reddit says it was a new proxy publishing label. So it's
It
probably
does
because they're based in China and they needed
right.
like other companies to
Yeah, but
be able
why?
to
But
publish
why is
things.
Hoyoverse also called Cognosphere sometimes?
Oh, no idea.
But yeah, it does look like it's fully owned subsidiary
Yes,
of MiHoYo. So parent company MiHoYo, Hoyoverse, also called Cognosphere,
publisher.
subsidiary
Cool,
publishing company. Got it.
cool.
Perfect.
That's not
Makes
confusing.
sense.
Got it. Got it. I need a chart. I'm gonna need some diagrams after this. Anyway, the brief history of MiHoYo is Al, have you ever heard of Evangelion?
I have.
I want you to imagine that you are a couple, you're several people, and there is a team of a few people in China in like I think like the late 2000s who are really into Evangelion, and they decide let's make games inspired by that. And
Okay.
so, yeah, that was kind of that is I assume why this game is called Impact Third, because it is very heavily inspired by Evangelion, which has something in it called the Third Impact.
Right. Okay.
However, I
You lost
assume
me there for a minute. You were like, I think
a
that's
bit
why
of
it's
a
called
bit.
this because Evangelion. I'm like, I don't
Okay,
understand what that means.
Evangelion has
Okay.
something in it called the
I'm
Third
learning so
Impact.
much.
So I think they took inspiration from that name and some of the things that happen in that series, because it features in this game is kind of a thing. Uh,
Oh, this
Basically,
is
just
also the Genshin
yeah.
Impact company
Yes, that is
and Zenless
took
Zone
the
Zero.
yes.
Goodness me.
That's Hoyoverse. They have a lot. They also have something called Tears of Themis, which I think is like a hot boy dating simulator, but I never hear anyone talking about it, so I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
saw that
anything
as
about
well,
it.
but I didn't really care
Yeah,
because it's not
I
one I'd
don't
heard of.
particularly care, but it does exist.
And this game is
Um,
older than
yes,
than those games.
yes,
Right.
this is the one that I think really first took off. There were two that preceded it, but one was literally just kind of like a twin stick shooter, very short game, and the other was kind of like a prototype of this game that was like a lot more zombie focused because zombies were really big back in the like late uh, aughts, I think. If you remember, everyone liked zombies and bacon and pirates and mustaches and
Uh,
that kind of
yeah, I don't think
period
that
of
ever
time.
actually went away, did it?
No, no. Well, no, but it was like that was sort of a weird cultural cachet we had at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. I know, I know. I get you. I
Yeah.
get you. I get
Anyway, so yes, that game. Now I've confused myself. Where am I? Anyway, Honkai Impact Third. It's a game you can play. One of the as Hoyoverse starts getting more and more money, they need to put like side events in their gotcha games, and I guess some of the game designers are like, what if we just started doing entirely different genres? And so across a lot of their games, there are events where you will just play like entirely separate games as side events, and some of them are really interesting. The problem is a lot of them go away after the event period is over because that's not what the focus of the game is. I have noticed some lately in Impact Third seem to be like getting saved as things you can replay, and I think Honkai Star Rail keeps most of its events that happen, but not all of them. Part of that is because these are games you can play both on your phone and PC and consoles. Impact Third is only phone and PC. So to be playable on a phone, they wanted to decrease storage size. So they tend to delete content events that happened so your phone doesn't explode from being just the game and having space for nothing else. So the event we're talking about is they made essentially a farming sim that you can play. They have done this apparently twice. I was not playing when the first one happened,
you.
so I
Two
don't
farming
know
sims specifically.
anything about it. Uh, it's farming enough. I mean, that's I would say it's more focused on automation, sort
Sounds like
of.
my kind of game.
Yeah, but it is around farming and development. So yeah, I'll we'll just focus on the event thing, and maybe I will explain more later. I don't because there are I don't even know what to explain about the premise, and it's not actually that relevant to the story because it's so far off from where it began. And in fact, I don't know how it ties into the current story because I'm so behind in the game's main story. Oh man. So basically this event was like there is oh shoot, I've immediately realized the thing I'm going to have to explain. Al, it's time to talk about parallel universes.
Amazing. Look. I am a nerd. I am a Marvel fan. I I
Okay, good.
love parallel universes. Give me some parallel
Okay,
universe
okay.
stuff.
So, as far as I can tell, based on what I've played in the story, there is something in Honkai Impact Third and possibly in the other Honkai game, I'm not sure, called the Sea of Quanta, which is just named after quantum stuff, which is like, imagine there are a bunch of parallel universes or alternate universes, but they're all like separated from each other. So there's this space between them where like weird stuff happens where there are like possibilities and things outside of it, and that's called the Sea of Quanta. So sometimes you end up with things called bubble universes, which are like small specks of like worlds or places or whatever that might have once existed. So that's how they get away with a lot of their side content is like this happened in a bubble universe somewhere. So
The comic
it
book
can
strategy.
yeah, so sometimes it's relevant to canon and sometimes it usually events are non-canon, but it's non-canon in the kind of like, well, technically like this character was here for this thing, so it's like, oh, okay. But this mode you can't play anymore, so I guess it wasn't canon enough.
Fair
Uh,
enough.
so the main structure is like everybody's gotten stranded in this bubble universe. You play as this character that they all really don't trust because you're the biggest prankster ever, and also maybe you like killed people in the past. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in the game, uh, and you're helping basically all of them set up thing. You have to have enough energy to escape this bubble universe, and so you're trying to collect materials to power that and figure out what's going on. So the game loop is basically you unlock new facilities and structures. So there's a field, there's a mine. You can go fishing at some point. Those are like the three main things I would say you do, the kind of activities. And so each day you were able to go to the main board, which had a task, and you'll get some rewards from that. But you're generally trying to follow this guide that is like, add this structure, collect this many, not Pokemon. We'll get to them in a sec. And then complete these goals, and more of the story will happen, and you'll unlock new abilities and features, and upgrade like your tools and stuff as you go. So it's now I'm like going to the video thing I had to remember how things work. uh, so one thing that okay, no. Any questions so far? Let's take stock of what we know.
I'm not even sure if I know much yet.
Okay, cool. Fair.
Like it might exist. Wait, does this one exist in a bubble?
This is in a bubble. This is
This is
all
in
a
a bubble.
bubble.
Okay,
This is
right.
in a
Okay,
bubble.
so I don't need to know about the rest of the
You
game
don't
or
you
any
don't need to
lore
know
or
anything
anything
about the
like
game
that.
for to
Right.
understand how the game
D-
works here.
does it cross over with the characters in the main
Oh,
game just non-canonly?
I mean, again, I think it is canon. It's just like this is just a side event that didn't really impact much.
Oh, okay, I guess my question is like, why does this game do this? Why does it add
No
in
idea.
random other games into it?
Oh no.
For
Okay.
us,
That I should make clear. This is all of this world hopping that I'm talking about, all these alternate universes. This is in the same game. This
you know, I
game
get
plays
that.
with its own alternate universes.
I
There
get that,
are
but this is a whole different style of game.
yes.
Why?
Uh I don't I think like the developers at Hoyoverse are just like they've got so many people chomping on the bit to just make new games that they must just be like, all right, you guys can go make this cool new side mode for this thing, and they like let them off the chains and they run and go make a cool new thing because they're constantly doing stuff. Uh, I know. I maybe Kevin knows about this because I think he played Zenless Zone Zero. Is like one of
Yeah,
the events I missed, and that was like there was almost a Papers Please mini game kind of thing where you play as an entirely separate character, like a police recruit, and you're like helping figure out uh, people's problems and filing paperwork or something. Uh, Different events in Honkai Star Rail. I'm trying to remember. They had a much more direct Pokemon game you can play there, because that's an RPG. Whereas I didn't even talk about the genre of this game. I'm a fool. This is a sort of an action game, I guess. Action RPG, sort of. There's a lot of leveling up, but it's similar to Zenless Zone Zero, but a lot less flashy. Uh, Gosh, there's like it's the thing where there's so many things I could talk about, it becomes impossible to figure out what the important context is.
that's fine. Okay, I guess we don't hugely need to know about the context,
No,
right? It doesn't massively
as much
matter.
as
If you're
I'd
if
love to tell you random facts.
we'll
Uh,
we'll have another episode which is just you like brain dumping about the game itself. So
Greenhouse exclusive, me ASMR. I tell you Honkai lore for 30 minutes.
So key points, it's an action RPG game that for some
Yes.
reason adds in bubble universes that
Yeah.
may or may not be canon that are completely different styles of games
Yes.
because I don't know why, doesn't matter.
Yes.
And this one was, key point was, because they're all
Yes.
temporary.
Most of them, yes. For
Most
some
of them are
reason, some of the
temporary.
more recent ones, you can play like the Balatro Snap one. You can play still. It looks like
Okay. And so this one is a farming sim of
this
some
is a farming
sort.
sim. Yes, farming
Great.
sim automation thing.
That may be the longest introduction to a game that we've we've ever had. So
It's a rabbit hole,
about
man. There's
let's
so
talk
much
about
stuff.
the
Let's
Honkai Impact third farming
yes.
game. Does it have
I'm
a
going to
name?
try and yeah. So the name of this event was, I think, like wilderness development log. So you're like in this wild place. We're
Fantastic.
developing this ruined, abandoned city where people might have lived like millions of years ago in this bubble universe,
Is
and getting stuff from it.
is there one guy whose job it is at this company to make up names for these games?
Oh, I have to assume there's multiple.
Because it's like we've got Honkai, oh, for goodness sake, Honkai Impact third.
I can explain all of the names very simply. Zenless Zone Zero sounds cool. That's the only
Okay,
inspiration for that name. Honkai Impact Third. Honkai is actually a changing of the word Hokai from Japanese, which means, and this is a Chinese company. I want to remember they're just massive weebs, uh, which means like destruction or collapse. So Honkai is like supposed to be this supernatural force in the canon of the game that you could kind of think of it like entropy almost, but a lot more direct. Uh,
okay.
and so the Impact Third is just like, hey, there's cataclysmic events, and we like Evangelion. Star Rail, that game, you are on a train in that game. That game is about going around the universe in a train, hence Star Rail. And then I think Genshin Impact was just like, well, we need to have it connect to our game somehow, but we don't want to call it Honkai because it's not really about that. So they put the Impact part. And I think Genshin means like open field or something. So that's all the names. That's why they're called that.
Fair enough.
There you go. Where was I? Yes. So
We were just going to talk about the farming game, which you just
yes,
said was Wilderness Log something.
Wilderness Development Logs was the name of the event.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's do it.
Yes. So I'm just gonna like scroll through this video really quickly so I can remember the order of events. Basically, you plop in, it sets up the basics for the story. The story is mostly told in kind of like a visual novel, two characters talking at each other thing, and then you get into this sort of top-down open world where you can walk around and interact with various facilities. So it starts you off just planting crops. It does sort of a similar thing to Stardew Valley. I mean, all these kinds of games where you have the gradual upgrade of you can do one thing at a time. Now you can, till multiple crops at a time, etc., which was pretty nice. Basically, you just start farming a lot of stuff, and then it starts it introduces the concept of these not Pokemon, which are called simulated beasts. I don't know why they're simulated because I'm like, wait, is this real or are we in a computer program? I'm not sure about that. They just call them that. They got like there's like a little pumpkin dude. They got like crabs, etc. And so all of those you find these randomly by like sometimes you'll get one farming crops. They start introducing a shop where you can buy like one a day. You can get them in the mine, and so you get these eggs that you can basically incubate, and then you hatch a new one, and it has the higher the rarity, the better stats it's going to have. And so all of them have stats. I think they're, like strength, intelligence, etc. And you want to assign them to facilities where they're going to be the most effective.
Makes sense.
So yeah, you start with the farm, then I think you get like a ranch where you can start getting like milk and stuff, etc. Uh, and then as you progress in the game and you hit enough of these missions, you'll get like that's the first like day or part. It's not a day, but like the first part done, and then you unlock different character moments where you can be like, okay, here's an event that happens with these characters, and you can go see how they hang out. And then you get a little reward from going through it. Like the first one, you get a bunch of basically these things you need to craft stuff. The main currency, you get that. The next one, it's like lower stamina cost. That's something we should talk about. Actually, is there is a stamina system in this game because it is mobile and it's meant to be a game that you're completing over the course of like a week.
Oh
It's an event, so they don't
no.
want you to do it all at once.
Oh,
I
so
never
it's
really had.
stamina, but like, let me guess. Can you pay to get stamina back?
I don't think you can pay for it in this case, but I could be
Oh,
wrong. But yes, there is stamina. This game has stamina systems, and they're kind of annoying, but it's a good way for me to be like, okay, I've played too much of this game already. Time to go do something else. And also, like, I don't know how you get them, but if you do run out of stamina, there is a like machine that just gives you more stamina, and I never had to do anything to get those. It just gave it to me, so I have no idea what the stamina is for in this mode. It just kind of is. So weird thing. But yes, is there like a list of facilities that would make this much faster for me to describe instead of trying to perfectly remember? No, of course not. Uh, but that's the main conceit is that you're advancing the story, you're unlocking different facilities. There's a farm, there's a mine, there's a factory, etc. And then you keep collecting better simulated beasts that you can put into those things, and they are giving you the materials you need to upgrade your facilities to be better, with the end goal of having enough energy to escape from the things. And the story is almost kind of like rewards, where it's like, okay, cool, now what are these characters doing? What's happening next? But if you don't know what the heck is going on, like me, you can also just be like, okay, cool. I don't. It seems like they're having a cool conversation. That's probably important to somebody.
yeah, yeah, fair enough. So I think it'd be good at some point to talk about the actual farming mechanics because that's.
Sure.
But before we get to that, I have a question.
Yes.
Say now, obviously, this is in the past, so you can't do
Right.
it. But say the day it was announced, you come
Right.
to me and you say, "Hey, this has been announced." I go, "Great, I want to play that."
Right.
Do I just download the game and just click on the farming bit of it,
I
or do I
think
have
so.
to play through a bunch of the main game to get to it?
I don't think the main events, I don't think are usually that restricted by stuff. I will say I'm currently at max level, so I don't I don't have a reference point for level one what that's gonna be like. But I most of the game like side content is I think like the limited time event stuff is going to be fairly open. I
Okay.
don't think you need to do much for that, but I could be wrong. I know level 30 is like basically where pretty much everything in the game is available to you, and it doesn't take that long to level up, but uh,
It's yeah, that's still like there's a big difference though between you
yes,
don't have to do
100%.
anything and you only have to put in 2 hours,
You know,
right? That's a
2 hour, yeah.
big difference.
100%.
Um, the other thing I
Yes,
would
it looks like this was a required level of 30 or higher, so it does
okay,
seem like you would have to be
that's
playing the game already.
30 seems
So,
quite
boo.
high as well. Um,
You
so
could get that in a week. It's
yeah,
not.
well, you might.
Fair. I acknowledge I have more time. Uh, yes,
The other question I have before we get into the specifics about the mechanics is
sure.
the event's over. What
Yes,
happens? This part of the game is just completely gone, or
pretty much.
right. So you log on one day and it's there and you're farming,
Yep.
blah 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 blah. The next day, nothing.
Yep.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty
Why?
wild. It is not good for any sort of game preservation.
Well, there is. I
That's
wasn't
the thing
even
that
thinking about that.
frustrates me the
I,
most,
all
personally.
I was thinking about was just like if you're enjoying a part of a game and then it's gone, too bad, right? Like that seems like
Yeah.
such a restrictive thing. Because I'm
Yep.
guessing, like, do people play this game in general, Honkai Impact Third? Do they play it for story?
I would say if you are still playing this game, you are definitely invested in the story. Yes.
So presumably that's what this is for. Then the reason you're playing these side games is to get the more story.
Yeah, it's like the devs have fun doing a different game, and you get to see your little scrunklies interact or whatever.
Just seems so weird to just not even let you do it. Even like they don't even need to add any more story into it. But like some people just like the gameplay of things.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
I
It's a
love
bit silly.
I love the graphics of this mode. Certainly, I don't know if this is the same as
Yeah, I will
other
say
parts of the game, but it's kind of like chibi-esque.
they tend to do that for a lot of the side content where like that's sort of a I think they have like this top-down walk around thing pretty set as like a thing in their code that they can pull out for, okay, we need a thing where you're walking around an environment and we can pull that out. Not that they don't have like physically walking around an environment, but this is a lot less demanding and a lot more chill.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. Well, tell me about the farming mechanics. For I've had a
Yes.
quick look through a video of the gameplay, and
Yeah,
they look pretty kind of standard. Tell me
it's
how it
pretty
actually
standard.
feels to play.
Yes. So it is honestly playing it on my phone. It was kind of annoying to like get the right setup for the grid, though. Where it's like, okay, I have to water the plant that I just put. Um, and the other weird thing about it is that basically anything you plant grows in like 5 seconds. So you take like
Ah, interesting.
5 minutes farming your entire thing or like setting everything up, watering it. By the time you finish watering one row, and go to the next one, the beginning of that row is already almost done, which is probably why the stamina thing is there.
So you're not
Uh,
just infinitely getting
yeah,
farming stuff
infinitely getting
forever.
materials. It's a way to pace the game, so you can't just you have to figure out how you're going to spend your energy instead of just being like, all right, everything now.
Yeah, I do. That's an interesting aspect. I mean, I had completely forgotten that, of course, this is a mobile game. So yeah,
Right.
it looks like a really
You
not
can play it on your
great.
PC. I did not.
Oh, right. Like they have an official released on the PC
There is an
version,
official
or
release on PC. Yes.
oh, okay. I feel like that. So I think the person I'm watching is using a controller because it's like
Yeah. Is this the
all
video I
the.
linked or the
Oh, did you link a video?
I did link a bit. I linked. It might be the same one. It's in my reference points. I have a Wilderness Logs event playlist.
It is not.
And
It's a different
oh,
account.
okay, does not
But
matter.
yeah, no, it doesn't matter. But my point is just the icons all have controller buttons on
Yes,
them.
yes. Same here. The one I'm looking at, but yes, those. It is definitely going to be a lot easier to just tap on your screen. Though it does. I'm pleasantly surprised that they have like different things written for all of them. For just press this button, like R2 plus X to open
Yeah,
this.
yeah. But I guess one of the things about mobile farming games is they're very rarely ever like this, your
Hmm.
standard farming game, right? They're much more like first of all, they tend to be like bigger plots, right?
Yeah,
Rather
I'm
than
aware of
individual
Farmville. Yeah.
plots. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
They're
yeah. No,
all
I get
based
what
on
you're right.
Farmville. That they're all based on that sort of structure. Um, and obviously they also have stamina, but they tend to be very little stamina and things take time to do it, but if you pay you can
Yeah.
get it faster sort of thing, which this doesn't seem to be doing.
Yeah, I would
And
say the actual farming of this game is probably one of the most annoying parts, like the setting it up. It's nice that it's so quick to get it, and
uh-huh.
there is one thing about the farming I do like is that they have a chance when you put a bunch of crops next together, there is a chance to get a really big crop. So you can have four
Oh, nice.
pumpkins next to each other and you just get a giant pumpkin.
I
And
always
then
enjoy that when it's in games.
yeah, they have the chance to mutate into the simulated beast things that we talked about earlier. So you could plant a
Right.
crop and it's like, oh, I actually got like a new thing that I can put in one of my facilities. So it is kind of fun, but it was like okay, I do my things for the day, and then I'm done for now. Uh, and I it becomes a lot more satisfying when you upgrade because of that, because you get like these areas, and I've seen that with the like in farming, it's like you upgrade your watering can. It's like, okay, now you can do a line, now you can do a grid. Versus in the mines that they have, it's like now your hammer is like hitting in a 3 by 3 grid, where I feel like usually it's just like, oh, you can, break something that's harder. And they have that to some degree, but like the idea of being able to clear out a lot at once, I think is a fun upgrade for the mining section.
Yeah. Okay. So the mining,
Right.
talk about that. How does that
So yes, let's talk about
work?
the mining. So the mining, it's pretty limited, I would say. And part of it is because the stamina is like you're not going to have that much ability anyway. The To get very far, the ladders are set on set positions in the floor, and the mine refreshes every day. But on the day that you're playing it, like the layout doesn't change or anything. It's all
Just to
going to be
clarify, when you
permanent.
say day, do you mean
I mean,
in-game day
literal
or
in-person day.
a person day?
It
Right.
resets
Okay.
every day.
Real life day.
Real
Okay.
resets every real life day.
Cool.
So every real life day, you'll have a different mine, but during the day when you go in and out of there, it's going to be the same layout. Anything you've mined will be gone. So if you clear out the entire mine somehow, you cannot get any more things from it until the next day, except from the mine facility, which is separate, which is like automatically collecting like iron or gold or whatever, depending on what you've upgraded it to.
Fair enough.
So yeah, so each floor, I think there's 9 floors in total, and so you have to like hit certain levels in the rebuilding guide. That's kind of the progression system for the game. Is you've completed all these missions, you've unlocked the next level, and here are the new things you can do. So I think it's like level 3, 6, 9, maybe. You are unlocking like 3 sets of floors at a time, so that you can go a bit deeper. You can teleport to, I think, again, like every 3 floors, so you don't have to go all the way through each time, and you'll get like more rare rewards the further down you are. So, which
Yeah.
tends to correlate with the kinds of materials you need for upgrades. So it's like I made it down to floor 6. I don't remember the exact floors, but made it down to floor 6. I need gold to make the lab that I want to build, to make that facility for the first time. So I'm gonna go down there and I mine all the gold, and then I've upgraded. Once that's set up, now I've upgraded my mine for like the auto collecting materials, so that those guys are getting gold, and then I can use that gold to get the new thing that I need to craft and to make, a new facility. So it's a very clear progression thing. It's pretty much always telling you this is the next thing you need to do. Here's what you need to do to get there, and what's in your way is mostly just uh, the time. Really, is like what you're willing to do in person, and then when you're willing to set up with the beasts so that the you get the this sentence is going nowhere. What you're willing to set up with the beast so that you get the automatic rewards each day when you log back in. So it's set around that like sort of daily check-in, do a little bit of stuff, use that stuff to upgrade, see the next thing, that you're done for that day.
Fair enough. Is there a day night system in the game other at all? And if so, is it linked to, because I know you said the
Hmm.
mines reset on real life days, but
Right.
is there anything else that happens day wise in the game?
No, not that I'm aware of. There's no day-night cycle. There is, I think there might be like an event where it takes place at night, but that's just like a story visual
Right.
thing. It doesn't
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
affect
That's fine.
anything in the
That's fine.
gameplay.
Fair enough. Makes sense. It's all sounding pretty. I mean, other than
It's pretty standard
yeah, it's all
in a lot
sounding
of
pretty
ways.
standard. Other than obviously not having the day night cycle means that obviously you
Mm,
don't have to go to bed. It's more, I guess, Animal Crossing esque in that
yeah,
aspect
yeah.
of things. But
Yes.
yeah, it sounds kind of pretty standard.
It
Um,
was a chill event. I enjoyed going through it definitely. In terms of the like, we kind of talked. I think you mentioned before the kinds of games where you like to check in once a day to do things, and that's
yeah,
definitely like where this fits for me and why I enjoyed the event. Partially was just kind of the incremental progress and what do I get today.
yeah. I think I said I don't like those kinds of games.
Oh, did
Uh,
you? Okay, right. Okay, I was mixing it up with something I read recently. I think. Sorry, that's
yeah,
embarrassing.
no, I know it's no, it's fine. It's a good way of comparing things. No, it's just that's just not how my brain likes to work
Hmm.
with games. I am what Cody calls a game guzzler. Um,
Yeah, no, I do kind of get the hyper focus too, which is kind of why I think I appreciate things that put limits on me. Like I'm out of stamina, and I'm like, okay, too much. That's enough for
yeah,
today.
no, I just get frustrated with those.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
um, yeah, you know, I think the other thing that I think you haven't talked about mechanics wise is fishing. Tell me about that.
Fishing, yes. So fishing, uh, let's see if I remember how this works. Generally, fishing, once you unlock it, is there's like a couple spots that will show up on the beach as like, oh, here's like a little circle where you can uh, get fish. I'm going back to the video to remember. The fishing mini game is kind of Stardew-y, where it's like you. I think when you get your fishing rod on the water circle that's kind of like bubbling or whatever, you immediately catch the fish, and then it's just a matter of making sure that you're moving it up and down in the little fish bobber or whatever. What do you call it? What is the fish bobber or
The
line
the,
gauge?
uh yeah, you mean the actual the gauge is
The
because I
gauge that
initially
goes up
I
and down.
initially thought you meant like the thing on the actual end of the
No, no.
fishing rod. No, you mean the actual, yeah, gauge is a good one. Let's go with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you You get that, you get the fish. It's very simple. Sometimes you get a fish, sometimes it is an egg for one of the simulated beasts. And like those, there are different kinds you get depending on the area you got them from. So like there are like water themed ones that you're gonna get from getting the eggs from over there. Uh, and then, and so I'm trying to remember if it's like a thing you unlock or if it's just automatically starts happening where you have a chance, I believe, to see ones that like have sparkles around them, and I think you get like a treasure chest along with them. So I think there are only
Right.
like a
Okay.
certain amount of uh excuse me, a certain amount of fish that you can get in a day. Once all of the like bubbles are gone, you cannot fish anymore because there's nothing. Or it might just be no, I think you do need the bubbles. I don't think the prompt will pop up for you to fish unless there is a spot. So that there's you're fairly limited there. Uh, and you're going to be gathering more from probably the fishing facility that you unlock. Whereas you're more likely to get rare like eggs and treasures from when you're fishing yourself.
Fair enough. Awesome. Is there anything else that you think is something that would be interesting? Okay, let me reword that.
Anything relevant.
Let me reword that. What about this game do you think other farming games could learn from?
I think let's see. I appreciated the guide as kind of like a very easy way to see what was next, clear goals of like, here's the next sort of phase in the game.
Hmm.
Again, I'm sort of a just give me tasks to do kind of person. That's why I enjoyed the Luma Island.
Yep.
So that I don't know how much other people agree with that, but that was good. It has a lot of like sort of achievements. There's a collection where you can see every single like item you can get in the game basically, and so if you want to you can go for all of those. There is some I completed the full like story, but there was some like extra content if you did one or two things and some interesting achievements you could get. I looked them up after the fact and it was just story stuff that I had no context for, so I was like that's fine that I didn't do that. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
something
way
related
behind.
to something that happened in like
Yes.
2015.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't know. What was the card of it? But yeah, it's more recent stuff. What else? Like, one thing that they tend to do with these events is that the way that they incorporate them back into the main game is like once you hit certain milestones with the side stories, you basically get achievements in the main game. That's like, oh, now you have more of this material or this reward that you can use for the main stuff that you're doing. So it still kind of rewards you the way that playing the main game would. Is just kind of abstracted to a different game. So I don't know if I would want farming games to learn from that necessarily, because that's more of
Yeah.
a gotcha game thing in general. But I do think that is interesting how gotcha games make use of side stuff like this to try something different, but also be like, okay, and here's the stuff that you want for the regular game that you can stop playing our cool side project now. So,
Yeah, I guess they with farming games they just tend to be a new game if they're trying something new. They don't.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like who other than Stardew is still updating their farming game?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
People who
Well,
are still making it, I guess.
anything else you want to say before I wrap up?
Uh, No, not really. I mean, it's Honkai is an interesting series. If you want to join me in the pit of endless suffering, you certainly can. I don't know if I'll recommend it per se. I'll leave off with my one lore thing that I did want to share, which is just that the way that Honkai Impact Third and Honkai Star Rail are connected is that one of the guys, there's a dude in Honkai Impact Third from Finland who goes to the this alternate universe in Honkai Star Rail, and he's just your grandpa buddy on your space train. So that's pretty
Oh,
fun that he's the only character canonically from Earth in this other.
and he's from Finland,
He's from Finland
of all
specifically.
places.
Yes, specifically Finland. He's
I mean,
also
you
an
have to be from
animator.
somewhere, I guess.
Pretty fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Dalan,
Yeah.
again.
Thanks. Thanks for letting me blab.
Who
Pretty
knows?
standard game, but it's fun to talk about.
Who knows what we'll be talking about next time?
Oh, who knows? The bar is in the pit now.
Where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah. So right now I mostly just talk on Blue Sky. So if you want to see what I'm doing, you can check Valiant AMM dot bluesky dot social. I mean, I'm on other places, but that's mostly the place I talk now. So I have like a blog I'm working on, but I'm not. There's no intelligent thought there yet, so no need to read it.
You can find me on mastodon.scott at the Scottbot. I'm other places as well, but I'm not really prioritizing anything else
Yep.
just now. You can find the podcast on Tumblr at THS Pod. But the best place to go to find stuff about the podcast is our website, harvestseason.club, where you can send us feedback. We've got a feedback form there. I read all the feedback sent into there. So if you have feedback, send it there. You can also find links to everything to do with the podcast, including a link to our Patreon, patreon.com/THSpod, where you can support the podcast. You can get access to our Slack, where lots of conversations happen. What's happened recently in that chat? We have talked about.
I scrolled up to see the picture of the puppy from last episode.
Oh, yes.
Recent
Yes, if you
one.
want to see Kevin's puppy and also Cody's dog.
I think I stopped listening to the episode after that. I'm like, I need to see the puppy. Is it gone now?
Also, you get to
No.
debate on whether Johnny buys a Hank hoodie or not. Although I think it's too late now. He's either bought it or
he
not.
hasn't. Influenced Johnny's future purchases.
Let's be honest. If Johnny is asking if he should buy something, he's probably already bought it.
That's true. That's a good point.
And I'm sure we'll be talking about lots of other things soon. You can also get access to our bonus episodes of the podcast. We just had one about what me and who was I on with? Me and remove the filter, delete the filter. Good thing I can edit podcasts.
No one will know.
Me and Johnny and Kev, or did it just end up being me and Kevin for the upcoming episode? Because it was meant to be me and Johnny and Kev, but I feel like Johnny slept through that.
I
just me and Kevin.
I don't know.
Anyway, whoever it was, me and some people talking about what games we're looking forward to this year. And I'm pretty sure I say on that I do not think that GTA is coming out this year. That's my big prediction for 2025. GTA 6 is not coming out this year.
I can't believe that escaped the premium feed. Y'all are lucky.
That's my hot take. I can't even remember. Oh yeah. Oh, the other thing was I predicted that there will be both a new 3D Mario and a new Mario Kart this year.
You're not going to give them anything to listen to.
Find out what other people are saying, because I'm not the only person with hot takes.
This is true.
There'll be other episodes coming up. I think we're going to do a Sonic 3 episode.
Oh,
because
saw that movie.
Many of us have watched it now, so we're going to talk about that.
Look forward to it.
And some other things as well. All right. How do I finish this podcast? I can't remember.
I've forgotten.
That's everything. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me, Dalan. So close. So almost. Every single other time I said it in the episode.
Let's see if he remembers next time I'm on in 2 years.
Yeah, because you probably corrected me a year and a half ago. I think that's everything. Until next time, listeners, have a good harvest.
Have a good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode. But I can't actually find where you said it about it.
Yeah, I think it came up in video games because I mentioned that I was doing like a farming event in this game, and you said, "There's farming in this game?" I was like, "Yeah, right now."
I need to find this now. We're not doing any more until I've found this.
I'm just gonna use the restroom while you're looking for this. I need to make sure. I'm really good. 1 second. I'm back from my potty break. Any luck?
I have found it.
Oh, sweet.